Hello and welcome to this week's episode. We're going to take a look at worldwide cannabis culture.
Cannabis, also known as marijuana, weed, pot, ganja, and many more, has a rich history of cultural significance across various civilizations. Here's a brief overview of cannabis in different cultures.
Ancient China. Cannabis has a long history in traditional Chinese medicine where it was used to alleviate various ailments. Cannabis seeds were also used as a food source, and oil was extracted for various purposes such as cooking and lighting lamps.
Ancient India. Cannabis, known as bhang, holds profound religious and cultural significance in India, particularly in Hinduism. It is closely associated with the deity Shiva, who is often depicted with a chillum, or a pipe, containing cannabis. Bhang is consumed during religious festivals and ceremonies, especially during the festival of Holi, to induce a state of euphoria and spiritual transcendence. In addition to its religious uses, cannabis has been used medicinally in Ayurvedic practices for thousands of years to treat a wide range of conditions from pain relief to digestive issues.
Ancient Egypt. Whilst evidence of cannabis in ancient Egypt is not as abundant as in other cultures, there are indications of its medicinal and religious use. Some archaeological findings suggest that cannabis was used as a treatment for conditions such as inflammation, glaucoma, and hemorrhoids. Cannabis may also be used in religious ceremonies and rituals, although the extent of its use in ancient Egyptian religious practices is not well documented.
Ancient Greece and Rome. Cannabis was utilized in ancient Greece and Rome primarily for medicinal purposes. The Greek physician Galen referenced cannabis in his writings, praising its therapeutic properties as pain reliever and sedative. It was often used to treat conditions such as earaches, inflammation, and gout. Despite its medicinal benefits, cannabis was not as widely used or revered as other plants such as opium or mandrake in ancient Greece and Rome.
Islamic World. Cannabis has a complex history in the Islamic world, where attitudes towards its use vary among different cultures and interpretations of Islamic law. Whilst the Quran does not explicitly mention cannabis, some Islamic scholars consider its intoxicating effects to be prohibited, haram. Despite this, cannabis has been used medicinally in various Islamic cultures for centuries, with notable figures like Ibn Sina mention its therapeutical properties in medical texts.
Jamaica and Rastafarianism. Cannabis holds immense religious and cultural significance within the Rastafarian movement in Jamaica. Rastafarians believe that cannabis, referred to as ganja or the herb, is a sacrament that brings spiritual enlightenment and closer connection to the divine. Cannabis is often used during rituals, gatherings, and reasoning sessions, where it is smoked in communal settings. Rastafarians view cannabis as a neutral and holy substance that promotes unity, peace, and love among believers.
North America. Before European colonization, various Native American tribes in North America used cannabis for medicinal, ceremonial, and recreational purposes. Cannabis was valued for its therapeutic properties and was used to treat conditions such as pain, fever, and inflammation. It was also used in the spiritual ceremonies to induce altered states of consciousness and enhance connection with the natural world. However, with the arrival of the Europeans and the subsequent demonization of cannabis, its use among Native American tribes was suppressed, and traditional practices were often suppressed or eradicated.
Nepal. Cannabis, known locally as ganja or charas, has been used in Nepal for centuries, deeply ingrained in the country's cultural and religious practices. Cannabis is considered sacred in Hinduism and is commonly used in religious rituals, especially those associated with Lord Shiva. It is also used for medicinal purposes, particularly in traditional Ayurvedic medicine, to treat various ailments such as pain, inflammation, and digestive issues. Despite its traditional and religious importance, the Nepalese government has imposed strict regulations on cannabis cultivation and consumption in recent years.
Morocco. Cannabis cultivation and consumption are deeply rooted in Moroccan culture, particularly in the Rif Mountain region, where cannabis has been grown for generations. The production of cannabis resin, known as hashish, is a significant economic activity in certain areas, providing livelihoods for many farmers. Whilst cannabis cultivation is officially illegal in Morocco, it remains widespread and is tolerated to some extent by authorities, especially in regions where it is deep entrenched in the local economy and culture.
Thailand. Cannabis has a long history of traditional medicinal use in Thailand, where it is known as ba or ganja. Historically, cannabis was used to treat various ailments such as pain, inflammation, and insomnia. However, cannabis was classified as a narcotic and prohibited in Thailand in 1979 under the Narcotic Act. In recent years, there has been a shift in attitudes towards cannabis, leading to the legalization of medicinal cannabis in 2018. This move was driven by growing recognition of its medicinal benefits and economic potential.
Colombia. Whilst Colombia is more commonly associated with cocoa and cocaine production, cannabis cultivation and consumption are also prevalent, especially in regions like the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. Cannabis can be used traditionally by indigenous communities for medical and ritual purposes. In recent years, there has been a growing interest in the medical and industrial potential of cannabis in Colombia, leading to the legalization of medical cannabis in 2015.
Central Asia, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Cannabis has a long history in Central Asia, where it has been cultivated and used for various purposes for centuries. In Afghanistan, cannabis cultivation has been a significant part of the agricultural economy, particularly in regions like the Hindu Kush Mountains. Cannabis has been used traditionally for medicinal, recreational, and spiritual purposes in Central Asian cultures. However, in recent years, there has been efforts by governments in the region to combat illegal drug trafficking, including crackdowns on cannabis cultivation.
Native American tribes. Whilst traditional Native American cannabis use was suppressed by European colonization, there has been a resurgence of interest in cannabis among some Native American tribes in recent years. Some tribes have explored cannabis cultivation and commercializations as a means of economic development on tribal lands. Additionally, there has been growing recognition of medicinal benefits of cannabis with Native American communities, leading to efforts to legalize medical cannabis and explore its therapeutic potential for addressing health dispensaries in indigenous populations.
These are just a few examples of how cannabis has been woven into the fabric of various cultures throughout history. Despite different attitudes and regulations surrounding its use, cannabis continues to play a significant role in many societies around the world. Thanks for joining us on today's episode. We hope you learned something new. Please like, subscribe, and ding the bell so you don't miss future uploads.